Well, what we did get to see is Mads Pedersen at his very best. If you're not Tadej or Mathieu van der Poel, you've had a horrible spring, except for Mads Pedersen, and he's kept incredible momentum through the opening stages of the Giro d'Italia.
For him to have that kind of confidence going, first of all, means that he trained so hard. You know, he hasn't raced since Catalonia, since he wiped the floor with everybody in Montjuic. And then think about what he's done to himself and the stories that I've heard from training camps in the past, in the Visma days, of what that he could do to himself in training. He obviously did that again.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Podium. I'm Bob Roll. We're getting into the Giro d'Italia, finally started. The race season is well underway. Giro starting in Albania this year, and that was on Friday, because to go from Albania back to Italy, that is today, Monday. And Christian Vande Velde, we have been enjoying the Giro d'Italia, but it hasn't come without a couple of hiccups for you.
Oh.
Did you know you were sitting on top of a seismic earthquake fault in Greenville?
Dude, I have been around, and supposedly I've been in the presence of, but I've never felt it. This one shook me, and I thought my house was I thought it was gonna fall through the ground. I mean, it wasn't that big. It was a 4.1. I can only imagine what you've seen throughout your years, but I never thought in a million years that a hurricane was going to hit us up here, all up in Greenville this last fall. And then we had fires later on. I mean, this comes from a place where, just like 6-7 months ago, like, oh, come down to Greenville, South Carolina, the safest place in the world. Now, I think we cursed ourselves, Bob. I mean, I think cockroaches are coming next. But yeah, that was a shake. It was just south of Knoxville, 4.1, and it definitely had my daughter running down the stairs really quickly.
Yeah, the last big quake that I can remember was in 1989. I had been in Europe for 8 months. The day I got home, the Loma Prieta quake hit San Francisco. I was visiting my parents, and it was insane. That was a really devastating earthquake. So I hope everybody is okay in Greenville.
We're good.
The world is just a little bit shakier, it seems like, the whole world.
Hey, but on that note, Robert Francis, how crazy is the Pope from Chicago? I mean, we're talking, so that is Bob's true given name, Bob.
Yeah.
So is the Pope. So you got to ride this one all the way home, Bob. Robert Francis.
Listen, when I heard, you told me this, they saw the black smoke come out of the chimney at the Vatican, and the dude was American. The Pope was an American, which I never thought I would see in my lifetime. So good
White
luck
smoke.
to Robert Francis. White smoke, sorry. Pope Leo the 14th, I believe, is his chosen name to be Pope. So good luck, and we'll see how that pans out. Born in 1955 on the south side of Chicago. Who would have thought, Christian?
Yes, sir. Sox fan. No Cubs fan. South side. White Sox fan.
All right, let's get into the Giro. My first professional race was the Giro d'Italia. That was my first pro race. It was not what I would recommend to any neo-pros starting out with the Tour of Italy. And we've seen in the opening 3 days in Albania how hectic and how difficult, how tough the Giro is. And in my estimation, it maybe has the most iconic leader's jersey. It's special. The country of Italy is built for bike racing. And I absolutely adore the Giro. At the time, in 85, when I started professional cycling at the Giro, I was not stoked, but now I love the Giro, and I'm sure you share the same.
Is this the jersey, Bob? Is it?
Okay, that's a good story. I know.
Is this it?
That is it. You can tell it's made by Castelli.
I know that. So tell this story, because this is hysterical. Because I thought I got some, supermarket sweep jersey after I saw the two Castelli and then the Descent on the same thing.
Yeah. So Descent was our clothing sponsor, and by the way, it was fantastic clothing. But at that Giro, we added the co-sponsor that would stay with us throughout the 7-Eleven years, and that was Hoonved. And so to get the printed in time, Descent just, they're Swiss. They need a lot of at that time they were a Swiss company, so they did not have the bandwidth to put together the new sponsor, which was Hoonved. And so Castelli stepped in and made, just for the Giro, entirely new set of clothing, arm warmers, and everything involved that you can imagine: shoe covers, gloves, hats, all of it, jerseys, thermal stuff for the rain, which we needed a lot of. And so that's why it's made by Castelli. And that was just for that Giro in 1985. After that, Descent had time to make the jerseys for the rest of our time in Europe. But I don't know where you got that, Christian, but I haven't seen one of those in at least 40 years. So hats off to you, Christian Vande Velde, for having that. I think that might be the only one in existence. The Castelli made 7-Eleven racing kit. That's incredible.
But what makes me laugh is that it still says Descent on it as well, with Castelli like 3 inches away from it. I mean, this is only something that Oach could have done in that first year, and this really speaks to the team in itself. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about this, especially after Liège-Bastogne-Liège with Uno X wearing this. So
yes,
there's been
that was cool.
A lot of storytelling, and I've heard some great stories. I actually heard a great story of actually the first. We're completely going off the mark here, but the first Tour de France, that you were the highest finisher from the 7-Eleven squad, the first tour as well.
Yes, it's yeah. That was another wild ride. That was our second Grand Tour. and the hardest tour of all time, when Greg LeMond and Bernardino were battling out against each other and demolishing the peloton day in and day out. But your history with the Giro is pretty special, getting in the pink jersey, Christian, in your career. Is that the only leader's jersey you had in the Grand Tour?
It was, Bob. It was short-lived as well. I definitely had a serious love-hate relationship with the Giro. Had some the worst crash in my career. The year after I got the pink jersey, where I broke 7 bones, 5 vertebrae. It was horrible. Broken collarbone there, but then also coming back, doing that with Garmin. This is when we were invited team as well, and it started with the team time trial, and we had a great team time trial team. We actually were really one of the first teams to really put a lot of effort into it again. So we trained for it. We think about the 2 Daves, Zabriskie and Miller, Magnus Backstead. We had some great riders there, and so we put all of our eggs in one basket. We have to, first of all, show our worth to the Giro organizers, and we still need to get into the Tour de France. So we were still not even in the Tour. So a lot like what you guys, it's actually a good segue into what Garmin became when it was just Slipstream at the time. So yeah, we won that team time trial, and I was the first one across the line in Palermo. And to tell you how again, the same thread, our team was so psyched, Bob, and I think I've told you this before, that when I went to the press conference, they left and went back to the hotel, and they just left me in Palermo, and I had to take a cab back to my hotel. And the cabbie's like, "Oh shit, there's no way that's the real pink jersey," and it was actually a good time to reflect and be by myself for a second. But I lost it to Franco Pellizotti the next day in a really hard stage, and doing the same finishing circuits. I believe the 93 World Championships that they had at the World Championships in Palermo, going up horribly hard. We had no clue what we're getting into. We were so focused on the TTT that we didn't even look at the stages afterwards and how we're going to be able to hold us back. But yeah, I lost to him by like a half second, or I like to say an Italian second. But yeah, that was a big day for me. But more importantly, rider. This is where we definitely share a common thread with being a part of teams that won against all odds, with North Americans winning the Giro with Andy Hampson in your case. Back in '88, correct? '88.
Yes. That's right.
And then with Ryder in 2012. So that was really cool to be a part of. And like you said, the Italians get so behind the sport. The Tifosi are nuts. The Italian roads are amazing to race on, and sometimes absolutely terrifying. And I have to say, very weather related as well. I mean, you brought up the
Absolutely.
weather, and you're talking about the clothing that you guys have, and of course, you're part of the story in the Gavia, which what is it again? Is when grown men cried, or
Uh, the day the Giants wept.
so good. I mean,
The
hopefully, never
next,
see that ever again.
yeah, the headline was the day the big men cried. So I changed it around a little bit for my teammates. Did my own translation, but that's a totally different story.
But no,
But the
it's a crazy Grand Tour. It's unlike the other
yes,
ones. I mean,
exactly.
everyone has their own fabric, and this one is completely nuts. It's so Italian. It's a little bit of anything goes at times. Definitely shoot from the hip at times. Even though we haven't seen that much, it's been pretty formulaic so thus far. Especially, I didn't know it was going to be like starting in Albania. I thought it could be a little bit chaotic, but it truly wasn't. It looked like they had it, and it was beautiful, by the way, as well. It made me want to go to Albania. But going back to the south of Italy, where they're going to be pretty much right now, they're all to either flew. So eight riders and five staff were able to be on the plane. The rest had to take the boat. It was like a 8 hour ferry trip over there with the trucks and the buses and all that kind of stuff. But you're still in the south of Italy, man. I mean, it's not so far off of just a third. It's not Italy. Like, even like the northern Italians, they look down in the south of Italy. It's a chaotic atmosphere, and something that makes it very special to race on those roads, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. They're narrow. They can be full of diesel fuel. So if there's any even hint of rain or clouds, even very slippery conditions. But I was pleased that everybody more or less, apart from Mikel Landa, who had a terrible
Yeah.
crash and is out on day one. I thought Albania could potentially be a lot more dangerous than it turned out to be. And maybe that's because Lidl Trek demolished the field, the two chances that they had. And so there was no big groups coming to the finish line on stages 1 and 3.
When everything goes right, the sport of cycling looks pretty easy, a lot like golf, right? It's such a hard sport to really get right, but it is incredible to see what that truly was like with Trek going all in. I mean, you had Ciccone, or really what my focus in those first stage 1 and 3 when they both won those stages with Mads Pedersen was Ciccone and the entire team being behind this. This was obviously a focal point of the entire year, knowing that these were tailor made for Mads Pedersen and that he has the form after the classes to be able to perform like he did. And these were true climbs, man. I couldn't believe, first of all, that
Yeah.
I always think of you saying it's a stingy category. That was a category 2, 10K at 7.5% yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard was that? That is not a category 2, but it was 40K from the finish line. So it is what it is. And, Mats Pedersen is the only strong sprinter who could make it up and over those climbs. But on Friday's stage, it was incredible what he did. And then the teammates and the backing of his teammates and what they did for him. I mean, Vacek is an absolute animal. I mean, I can't wait to see when this guy's
Savage.
unleashed. I mean, and then of course we have Ciccone. But it was impressive to see. And I think they'll have the pink jersey for a while. And it's a win-win for everyone, Roglic included. Roglic is psyched not to have the jersey right now. He did
Yeah.
incredible time trial. I haven't seen him look like that for a while on the TT bike. The cadence that he was riding at, how compact, looked more aerodynamic than ever. He looks obviously put a lot of work into that. So yeah, what's going to happen? Who knows? I mean, this is a long Giro, and like every Giro, it's the same in the 80s as it is now. That's one thing that has not changed that much, is that the third week of the Giro is the hardest of any Grand Tour. It's obnoxiously hard. I mean, I looked through it today, and there's 4 redonkulous stages with 5,000 meters. So I mean, what is that? Almost 17,000 feet of
Yeah.
climbing. Oh
Yes.
goodness gracious! So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're going to have to be patient, aren't they? There's a long way to go until they get to the
Yeah.
third
Of
week.
course.
But
Yeah.
so far, so good for most of these riders, like you said, apart from Landa.
So the GC, it does look like some guys were not ready for stage number 1, especially.
Yeah,
It seemed like things stabilized during the time trial, and were what we expected them to be after stage 3. But I was kind of surprised with some guys obviously not ready for Simon Yates. I'm thinking about Tiemann Ahrensman, thinking about, it didn't look like the UAE guys were as sharp as I thought they would be. But Primoz was on point, ready to rumble, and was fantastic. But I don't want to call it just yet, but I think that it could not have gone much better for Primoz Roglic and the Red Bull Bora squad on the first 3 days.
Agreed. And yeah, the Derek G was another name that you left out of there. That I would have definitely. It happens. You rarely see such a hard stage come in stage 1. Sometimes you prepare for it and you train so hard, and then you take your foot off the gas, and then you're not really sharp for that first stage. And it does happen, and it's horrible. I mean, here you are, you're preparing for a stage race, and day 1, you already lost a minute and a half. That hurts, psychologically more than anything else, and especially looking forward. But as I just stated, you're thinking of the last week of this Giro, you could lose 10 minutes in one stage. But at the time, every second that you lose, you're like, oh my goodness, the race is over. It's really, it's hard not to think like that, but it's going to be interesting to see what they're doing. And I agree with you with UAE. They did not look great that first day. I think that Ayuso did hit the deck at some point in time during that race.
Right. Yeah.
So that was unfortunate. But, apart from that, that's even when you want to really push even harder to get your teammates surrounded by you, to make sure that you're safe and sound all the way to the finish line. And they looked really unorganized. I agree with that, for them at least, and especially looking down the list of hitters they have on that team. On paper, easily the best team. I mean, incredible team. Ayuso, Jay Vine, Micah, McNulty, let's not forget Del Toro, Branchini, and Yatesy. It's a bad to the bone team. But sometimes without Tadej being here, they don't ride the same, do they? And this reminds me a little bit of in the Lance era, US Postal, when Lance was not there, it wasn't necessarily the same mentality that had going to a lot of the races. So I know you're very hesitant to call it, but looking at Ayuso, considering they have what do they have, 4th, 5th, and 6th in general classification from UAE, they do have a lot of cards to play.
It reminds me a little bit of Catalunya, when Ayuso was clearly on his best form leading into the last stage. Roglic goes bananas, and the caliber of riders couldn't keep it within a few seconds. It was an impressive ride by Roglic, but if that's what UAE is like without Tadej Pogacar, it's going to be a long season unless he's at the race. So, what he is, they almost always win. So it's not the end of the world. But if you're one of his teammates and you obviously are trying to maximize your potential, have your best possible career, I'm wondering if maybe for Juan Ayuso especially, changing teams wouldn't be the worst idea for that kid.
Yeah, I bet you this would definitely be a conversation that's going to be coming up. He does have the opportunity though here, that's for sure. And so if you can't prove it here at the Giro, then you're not going to prove it at the Tour de France either. So he's got to make some statements here. And I like what you brought in with Catalunya, because it's very similar, isn't it? As far as teams, riders going against each other. And a lot of times it doesn't matter what kind of team. I think sometimes there's a little bit too much made out to how many teammates you have around you in the last climb, for example, or the fact that he has no teammates with him. Like, it's either you can finish off the job or you can't. And if you don't have a rider, no matter how strong your team is or how many people you're surrounded by going up the last climb, you can't be pushed by your teammates. No one's going to help you, literally get up the climb. So that's the biggest question for everyone is this young team, because it is quite young with the UA team. Can they finish up the job? I think that Ayuso has the class to do it. It's just a matter of, can he go against the leathered veteran of Primoz Roglic? This guy knows how to get the job done, dude, every time. He's going to be 36 years old, and that's old.
Yeah, 36
these days.
These days, yes. Leathered, though, I have never heard of leathered. Weathered. Anyways, let's talk another weathered, perhaps, veteran now. Wout van Aert, not the opening 3 days probably he had in mind when he decided to do the Giro, nor for Simon Yates, his teammate. So Visma a little bit looking for a lot more from the Giro, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that he was sick. I think he did say that he was getting sick going into that time trial. And you know as good as I do that if you have a little bit of sickness and you go all in a time trial, you could definitely hurt yourself and really put yourself going backwards. And that's exactly what we saw on Sunday's stage. That's not wow. You know, there was so many riders. Yeah, I mean, when Wout's good, he could go over the category ones and above categories on the front, by the way, in the Tour de France.
Yeah.
So yes, that was not his standards. He said in his own words that he went above and beyond what he thought he was capable of doing, getting second place to Mads on Friday stage, because he said he did not feel well going into the Giro. I just hope that he comes back. You know, knowing his class, most likely he will be able to get over the sickness and continue to carry on. It's perfect timing for him right now that he does have this rest day to hopefully recover a little bit and be ready. Especially, you know, continue his teammate Olaf Koy. If Wout is leading him out and he's got good legs, that is a terrifying combination to think of. Wout van Aert leading out Olaf. So, I mean, there's a lot of speculation for tomorrow, but you know, hopefully he is good enough to be able to do that, Bob. But yeah, that wasn't up to his standards. We're all hoping for that. We wanted to see that you know, battle of the Titans going head to head with Mads and Wout, but we didn't get to see that on Sunday. And in the time trial, we knew when you see Wout perform like that in the time trial, it wasn't a horrible time trial, but it wasn't up to his standards, was it? And then of course getting dropped yesterday way early. So yeah, they have some work to do, and hopefully with Olaf Koy, I mean, he's most likely the odds-on favorite for tomorrow's stage, a sprint stage. It should be a sprint stage. That's gonna be interesting, and I think a lot of it, him being the favorites because of Wout, thinking that he's going to be good for the lead out going into that stage. So, but again, we all want to see Wout be up there as fans of the sport. We want to see everyone at their best, you know, battling each other, and we didn't get to see that with Wout.
Well, what we did get to see is Mads Pedersen at his very best. If you're not Tadej or Mathieu van der Poel, you've had a horrible spring, except for Mads Pedersen, and he's kept incredible momentum through the opening stages of the Giro d'Italia, but no Tour de France for Mads. They're going to go with their other sprinter, Jonathan Milan. So we'll see how that works out. But I mean, tip of the cap to Lidl Trek for understanding what they can get out of the racing, considering who they're racing against. And so you have an absolute superstar in Mads Pedersen. But I'm a little bit disappointed that he is most likely not going to be at the Tour de France this summer. But I don't know about you, but I love to see Mads. I love his leadership. His language ability also is always entertaining. He's always brings a real passion to the interviews he does before and after. Good, bad, or indifferent, Mads is the man. I love that kid.
No, it's true. Even when he was banged up yesterday, last year, he was giving interviews in the rain with us in the Tour de France after he had already left the race entirely. So yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be a shame that he's not going to be there, but same time, he's gotten so much out of this already, Bob. It's already, if he left the Giro tomorrow, it was a massive win, isn't it? So, I mean, he could have the jersey for still a few more days. I mean, he could carry us to,
absolutely,
depending on how hard stage number 5 is, which really looks good for a rider like Pidcock, for example, finishing straight up a hill, not that long of a hill, but a real punchy rider who still has speed like Pidcock. But by the way, Mads is pretty good at those kind of finishes if it's not too hard as well. But yeah, I agree with you. Lidl Trek and being able to have, first of all, a lot more cash in the kitty over the last couple of years since Lidl has come to the fray and supported them so this is be the 3rd year now. And it takes a while to really get, you know, you have this injection of money, but you just can't just buy a new team and say, press go. You know, and the same thing is going to happen with Red Bull Bora. You know, halfway through last year, Red Bull came in, and it's going to take a little bit of time to see them getting around them, especially in the Tour de France. Yeah. And so I love to see it. We need more dominant teams like this. We just can't have one team just mopping the floor with everyone else. So I like what they're doing. I like how they're spreading out the wealth and bringing the stars to some of the races that aren't as big as the Tour de France. And we'll see what Jonathan Milan could do. I mean, he's amazing in his own right. The biggest, I was thinking about this morning when we had a little bit of a text chain going, is that with Mads for the Vuelta and the Giro, he's perfect for that, isn't he? He'd be in there with a group of, let's say, 30 to 80, and he's most likely going to win that sprint. In the Tour de France, if they're going 30 to 80, they're going Mach 10 over those category twos, and he just can't make it a lot of times into that group. And then if it's a field sprint, he's not going to be able to win that field sprint because he's not a true full-blown sprinter. So anyway, who knows what happens with this guy? I mean, I think he's finally found how good, or he's realized how good he is these days. I mean, what incredible rider. To think about how long ago it seems when he was world champion, and how that no one expected him to win the worlds that year, and what he's done since then. I'm liking a lot what I'm seeing out of Lido Trek, just by his leadership, like he brought in, and really the leadership of Ciccone, being able to show by example, this is how you lead a team. This is how we look after each other. And Mads is going to have Ciccone's back coming into the mountains. If he's done what he's done for Mads thus far, he's going to do the same thing in spades for Ciccone going forward.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic Giro. Always love watching it, and can't wait to see the rest of it. They have three. Would you call a travel day a rest day, Christian? If you're a rider, you get to get on a plane, which is about 3 minutes from the finish of stage number 3. And about 25 minutes later, you're in Italy, and you have the whole day, the rest of the day, just as you would go into the hotel, and then a whole day off on today. So 3 rest days. That might be I don't know, an advantage for Roglic or the other riders that maybe are still looking to do a little bit more on the GC.
It annoyed me, to be honest, when I was ever put in that. I was only put in that situation one time. And I just want to keep the show going. Once you start getting the momentum going of what it feels like to go through the basics of, getting your suitcase ready, putting it at the door, the soigneurs take it, you go to breakfast, get on the bus, and you just continue to get into that routine. When you break the routine, it's hard. And it's kind of what you were talking about earlier with some of the guys starting the race on the back foot. And it's not easy to really keep that mindset going and the training, because you have to stay open. But that said, tomorrow's not going to be really needed to be like wide open, so you don't have to do a massive ride or any really hard efforts. If it was a mountain stage, for example, it's a flatter stage, you have plenty of time to get the body working again. But I would just want to get this race over with, Bob, if I was out there with the boys. That's for sure.
All right, well, stage 4, Tuesday, a day for the sprinters, and we'll see if Mads Pedersen likely to keep the jersey tomorrow, but maybe not the most likely candidate for the stage win. Who are some of the fast guys you expect to be up there tomorrow, Christian?
I really like Olaf Koy, like I said, and I'm putting a lot of this statement into that Wout is going to be back to where he should be, or at least a shadow of his former self tomorrow. If he's not too sick and he get over a little bit with the rest today. I think that combination of those two would be incredible to see. I mean, you think about Wout and what he could do from a kilometer out if he's at his back to some of his form, and then Olaf Koy on top of that. That'd be a fun combination to be able to witness. There's quite a few good sprinters out there, and it's gonna be hectic. Like we say, this is the Giro. Anything happens. You have to get to the finish line first, or at least into the last kilometer until we actually party. But I think I like Olaf Koy a lot.
Hopefully, no goats intervening, and I don't mean the greatest of all time. I mean actual farm animal goats.
Thankfully, Dion Smith stayed upright, but yeah,
yes, that's right. That was hats off.
That was
to
pretty
Dion
darn
Smith.
funny.
That was an impressive save. And Richard Carapaz, by the way, in the time trial. Usually when you slide out one direction and you correct, it's okay. But both, right, one after the other, I mean, that could have saved his Giro, Christian, that save in the time trial for Carapaz. So good news for EF, at least so far.
No doubt. And bringing Richard Carapaz up just reminds you of how long this Giro and what he's done in the past when he won the Giro, and the damage he did to everyone else in the finales as well. I mean, anything goes, man, at these races. But especially when there's so much emphasis on the third week and what you had to be in. And think about the form. If you'd have I used to like to have a old school calendar, just that you could write on paper, and you could see how long it actually is. So if you have a training cycle that's ending a week and a half or so, a week before the Giro, and seeing how long it actually is on a calendar until that third week, it's a long time to be able to hold that really high end peak form. So for Primoz, he's obviously sharp. He's ready to go. But we even saw that last year, or was it last year? 2 years ago, excuse me, when he did win, and how close he came to losing it. And if it wasn't for Sepp Kuss really just holding his hand all the way to the finish line, I don't know if he would have been able to win it. So, I mean, again, everyone's going to have to be very patient. And I think that we've seen a lot of patience out of the GC riders, especially yesterday on the Category 2 climb, the very hard Category 2 climb. No one was making any moves out there. There's so much more Giro to race. Keep the guns in the holsters for a while yet. And then if you're Primoz, he's just going to think about those Roglifications, those little paper cuts that he does so well, of just 7 seconds here, 8 seconds there. And that's going to start on stage 5. So yeah, I love the Giro. I know you do. It's so fun. I'm bummed. I hate that we already have a rest day today. Give us some time to reflect on what happened, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow's stage.
One last question for today, Christian. Is Primoz Roglič the greatest rider of the current generation that's not won the Tour de France?
Yes.
No hesitation.
No, zero. I mean, look, go down the list of all the week-long stage races and Grand Tours that aren't the Tour de France, and he's won them all. And he's won them, and he's crushed people. I mean, destroyed people. And his swagger coming into the press conference at the Giro on Wednesday, I was like, oh boy, I messaged you right away. And you're like, yes, I saw that as well. I mean, hadn't had a haircut since, I don't know, it looked like a year and a half ago, hat on backwards, big old sunglasses. I mean, and then they asked, how his form, he's like 10 out of 10. Yeah. And he's like, it has to be enough. If someone's at 15, there's nothing I could do. But for me, I'm at a 10. And for him to have that kind of confidence going, first of all, means that he trained so hard. He hasn't raced since Catalonia, since he wiped the floor with everybody in Montjuic. Right. And then think about what he's done to himself and the stories that I've heard from training camps in the past, in the Visma days, of what that dude could do to himself in training. He obviously did that again. And so he's ready to go. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that's a great statement to make. I don't think we're alone thinking that as well, that he is the greatest, maybe ever not to win the Tour de France.
Yeah, I think he should be definitely included in that. He and I have the same grooming schedule, so it's gonna be a long month forever. Anyways, Christian, thanks a million. Make sure you got your earthquake insurance paid up. Amongst all the rest of the insurances you need now.
Oh, don't even. That's not even funny, dude. I don't even think about that. No, we don't want any more. But I will. Maybe I'll just sell your jersey. I could at least get $10 for this, right?
Listen, anything happens. 10, maybe that's stretching it a bit. You and the whole family can live in the spare house in Durango. So don't worry, you got it made, bro.
All right. Well, maybe if you sign it, I could get 9. Without the signature 10.
That's most likely. All right, Christian. Thanks a million. I'll see you soon.
See you, buddy. Ciao.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.